Hey, everybody, this is David Chatham with Angel Oak Creative. We are coming with another episode of our Talking Tough series as part of our nonprofit theme for this year. We're entering the exciting world of databases and CRMs. At least I know that our guests are going to make them that way. So today we have Maggie Kane with A Place at the Table, Executive Director there. And we have Nathan Stuck. Nathan, I apologize. Remind me of your company's name again. I am awful.
Can't read my polo shirt? No,
I know, I can't.
AdVictoriam Solutions out of
AdVictoriam
Atlanta, Georgia, but with people all over the country.
So the reason we selected these guys, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves in just a minute, is that Nathan and his team just wrapped up an implementation with Maggie and her team around Salesforce and their CRM solution. So it's pretty fresh, and they bring an interesting perspective about how really harnessing your data makes you nonprofit tough and really makes you as an effective organization. So Maggie, just if you would introduce yourself a little bit, tell us a little bit about Place at the Table.
Yes, awesome. Thanks so much for having us. I'll speak for myself. Sorry, Nathan. I am really excited to be here and talk about this because it has been transformational for us, and I have just loved the experience and believe in good systems for nonprofits. Like your great introduction, I'm Maggie Kane. I'm the Executive Director of A Place at the Table. We are a pay what you can nonprofit restaurant in downtown Raleigh. I think to say the least, we need good systems. We are a nonprofit restaurant, already complicated as it is. So good systems help us do everything.
Great. And Nathan, AdVictoriam, what do you focus on?
So we are a Salesforce and MuleSoft partner. So we've been doing Salesforce implementations now for 7 or 8 years, and have made a big push into the nonprofit market as well. Just helping set up the salesforce.org, doing a good mix of community work, pro bono work, paid work, everything we can to help nonprofits move forward, help for-profits move forward, and kind of unleash the power of digital transformation and get people out of kind of some of the legacy systems.
And you also have a nonprofit, so you come at this from a couple of different perspectives, right?
Yes. So AdVictoriam's a certified B Corp, and that's actually, like, we can get into that story later if we want to, but that's how I met Maggie, is through the person who got me into B Corps, which is Christina Noel, which I feel like everybody in the Triangle knows her. So
we'll be sure to tag her on this.
Yes. Oh yeah. That'll get it viral. So we're a certified B Corp, and I worked on that project during my MBA, if you can't guess it, from the University of Georgia. And
you never would have known.
Christina gave me my first glass of the B Corp Kool-Aid. And so when I got to AdVic and we got certified, I eventually started Be Local Georgia, which is now a nonprofit, and we're a kind of an organization. It's a catalyst. It's a collaborative community to bring B Corps together, grow the movement, and really just kind of bring that whole purpose-driven community in the state of Georgia together. So conscious capitalism, go beyond profit, bringing everybody together. So, but yeah, I understand a lot of the pains of things like Google Sheets and being very unorganized and trying to run a nonprofit and it's fun.
Well, that's a great segue into getting kicked off here. We work with nonprofits at Angel. All we do is work with nonprofits. And one of the first questions we ask is about audiences, right? And donors, and how can you segment them, and who are they and where are they, and all those questions. And, sometimes we get blank stares, and sometimes we get really solid answers. And usually the ones that have the solid answers have a really solid CRM system in place, right? Because they have data, they know more than those who don't. So talk about, and maybe Maggie, you can start with this from Place at the Table. You just finished this implementation with Nathan and his team. How long have you been around as a nonprofit?
Yeah.
And then what were some of the challenges that you had to wait until now to actually kind of implement this?
For sure. I think, I'll start with, we've been around since 2014. We were founded in 2014. We opened as a pay what you can restaurant in 2018. So we have been open as a restaurant for 3.5 years, but we've been capturing data since 2014. And the AdVictoriam folks can tell you all about that too, right? I'm sure they have horror stories from some of the data we had from 2014 that was in a Google Excel sheet that then transferred to a CRM that we got that was just low cost and didn't have a lot of different things that enabled us to be more successful, things like that. So we, for years, right, just use this low cost CRM. We did not want to invest money in it. We didn't think we should. And just the capacity of that system was not going to set us up for success for the future, was not going to allow us to gain new donors and to steward those donors and to really, really build who we are as a nonprofit and connect with our audiences. And so I think, you asked the question of why and what the frustrations were around that. Why did we not have anything in place for years? And why did we finally get this system? Capacity is always an issue, right? So financially speaking, for years, we're building up. But I also think we nonprofit leaders have no time. We are constantly in meeting after meeting after meeting. We are running the program. We're also trying to call the donors. We're also, for me, I'm also hands-on running food every day in a restaurant. So over time, our data was not tracked. It was not managed. And it really just became a mess. And I will own it. My skill is not to do data. My skill is not anything system related. And so for years, I did not make that a priority because it's not my skill. And so I think that is a reason why as well. It was never a priority for me because I just said I knew it's going to be money. We're going to have to invest in people and systems. But now that we have it, it's a game changer.
So what was the catalyst that moved you from? Yeah,
because I finally looked at our data and tried to pull reports, and I said, this is unacceptable. We have been here for 3.5 years. We're raising $1 million a year, and we don't have correct data. And again, the amazing people at Victoriam can say, I owe them so much for what they had to do to comb through the data we had. It was not well managed. It was just total dysfunction.
And this isn't meant to. This is not a shame session. We are not trying to shame you.
But I own that. And again, it's because it's not my fault. I've been at capacity. We nonprofit leaders have too much going on in our heads. And so we finally said, we can't. To be an organization that survives for the next 100 years, to be an organization that survives after me, after I leave, the founder of this organization, we've got to create systems and put them in place that across the board will make us successful. Everything we finally came to, everything's in my head. It's in Maggie Kane's head. We have got to get it into a place where it can be in everyone's head. Everyone has access to this data. And again, we'll connect with all of our other systems. Will really just set us up for success.
Yeah. And Nathan, certainly what I hear from Maggie is what I hear from a lot of nonprofits of just that tension between capacity and budgets and the need to have this data. What with Maggie and her group and when you guys came in, what were, from your team's perspective, what were some of the challenges they saw and the opportunities they saw to coming in and helping a place at the table?
I think a lot of it was just, luckily for us, it was Maggie was already aware of the problem and we have a super technical team. They're really smart. And I'm kind of in the same boat as Maggie sometimes where I'm like, I'm not the technical person in our company. I do culture and strategic impact. I find partnerships like this. So it's like knowing that you're not good at it. It also means it's the first thing you're going to kick the can down the road on because it's not what you enjoy doing. It's not the fun part of, it took me an hour to find where with Google Drive, I had put my contact list in for our nonprofit when I finally implemented Salesforce. So, I think a lot of it too is they were running into an issue of like donor recognition and, even things like, we get our, they have the donors that, sometimes they pay, they buy a sandwich and they pay $50 and that's their contribution. And then they have people that write checks and knowing like which of our big donors hasn't, they used to write a check every 6 months. They haven't lately, or which of our big donors just kind of disappeared, or who's been donating a lot of money that we haven't really been recognizing. Yeah. And all of those were kind of automated, but still very manual processes.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where, yeah, it was in Maggie's head of like, oh, you know, Mr. Johnson always donates. I need to call him and see if he's, you know, especially last year, I think it was probably the eye-opening year for A Place at the Table, where they started to realize that, you know, all of a sudden the restaurant is only kind of operating and couldn't for a little while, and, you know, relying more heavily on donations of like, this isn't sustainable long-term.
Yeah.
And, you know, you see that on both the nonprofit and the for-profit side of like, sooner or later, like, you can hire as many people as you want, but if your processes are bad, your processes are bad. So, and now there's technology to just take bad processes and fix them. So, and luckily we have a bunch of really smart people on the team that are able to do that.
Right. What, Maggie, what did you have some perceptions about moving into this world that were either proved false or proved correct that, you know, kind of said, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, immediately, you probably saw my eyes, like everything proved correctly, like this, and I knew, you know, we did research on all the different systems. I think there are several solid systems out there, but with Salesforce and meeting with Victoriam, with, you know, people like Nathan, understanding where we are and what we need, was huge, right? They walked alongside every process with us. We met once a week. And so that whole process really helped prove that this is where we need to be. And now, I mean, I can't even tell you, there's so many benefits to having a just well-managed, well-done database. I mean, for example, today, I'm probably in my 6th hour of meetings, right? But so after every meeting, having a database like Salesforce, I could pick up my phone and I could audio message or put from an app, a Salesforce app, and I can put in, okay, met with Dr. Johnson, right? And he's going to give this, send me a reminder on my calendar. So everything syncs. It's easily manageable because we all have our cell phones and I have it in my pocket. I don't have to go log in. I don't have to go then remember the password, whatever that looks like, right? And so it's like Nathan said, it's like the thing that has always taken last priority for me. But now when it's easy and user friendly, it's such a big win. It's made our data clear and concise. We combed through everything and really just hit that reset button of here's our data. And now moving forward, there are processes and ways that will keep it clean and keep it concise. But it really does everything we need it to do. To what Nathan said, it really helps us steward and move forward as we're getting bigger and bigger. I'm telling you, worth every single you know, moment of the past 10 years of terrible data. So yes.
Well, and I think the other thing too, Maggie, is it's like when it's in Google Sheets or it's in Excel, it's not actionable. There's nothing, you know, it's just a static database of names and numbers and an address, maybe an email. There's nothing actionable about it. And I think what this allows you to do is actually like, there's insights, there's actions. And I know, there's an argument to be made there too for the ROI on it of like, you know, paying the money to have a proper implementation. And I think there's this fear sometimes in nonprofits and for-profits of like, do we really want to spend this money? And I think it's more so on the nonprofit side because you're asking for donations and now you're like, oh, we're going to go write this check to this company to come in and help us like integrate something, but we can manage in Google Sheets. We're doing just fine. I don't feel right. Or I don't feel like I can justify spending their money that they wrote these donation checks for, when in reality, this will help us be more efficient. This is exactly why people are donating money. And now we can scale our impact as opposed to trying to just manually, you know, burn out really too. There's also that aspect of social burnout, I think, for a lot of nonprofit executives, that it's just, you're trying to do everything and you want to save the world and you don't want to spend a penny on anything. I'll lose sleep before I spend their donation money on something like this. And I think Maggie's walking proof of like, this was worth every cent. Your
donors do not want you to reach that burnout you just talked about, right? And things like this are gonna put you in that place. And so, and your donors want you to have good systems in place. Just being completely honest, they are big donors because they have systems in their life. They have set up systems in their life. That's in some sort of way. And so I just think, and time is money, baby. Time is money. And so systems that like Salesforce that connect with other systems, we're a restaurant, our point of sale system that where you buy your sandwich connects with Salesforce, right? So systems that you invest in, they connect. And so then you don't have to manually enter your payroll into that, whatever it is, right? Whatever you're doing. But things can connect, and that time is money, and it will, again, it makes your life, it gives you hours back in the day.
Yeah. Nathan, you talked about the power, this being powerful and for nonprofits, for anybody, but we're talking about nonprofits here, how Maggie mentioned a few things about really understanding the donor, being able to identify those donors. What are some of the real advantages and the benefits of that? Where does that, that power for nonprofits? How can a CRM or just having a really solid database system help them to harness that power and, what we call nonprofit tough of just being effective, right?
It really is. It's around, I think it's just having clean and consistent data. It's having it come in from multiple sources, all be in the same place, providing that like actionable, insightful reporting and really kind of keeping a pulse on how your organization is performing. So, and I think there's something to be said too, that it's just easier. You think about being able to have all that slice and dice in one place versus like a ton of Excel spreadsheets, and like you're getting a view of like your target audience, you're getting a view of how you're communicating with them. You're also getting to see, like the success of different, campaigns that are being run, or, email drives. You start to be able to put data behind decision making. That like, I mean, even things like going back to the marketing degrees on the wall, like A/B testing, where Maggie can run a couple different email templates, and now she's got actionable data. Like this one did better than this one because I did this call to action, versus before where you're kind of if you're even doing it, you're manually kind of tracking success rates, and we think that was successful. But I mean, harnessing the power of big data and what's working, what isn't, what should we do more of, and going back to what Maggie said, time is money. Like, and sometimes it's that element, and I do it sometimes with Be Local Georgia. It's think like a business, even though I'm a nonprofit. Think about, it's the same tenets that drive things. So think about, how do I work smarter, not harder? And if Maggie's time is worth more for her meeting with Dr. Johnson or whoever to get that big donation check, then why is she spending her time manually sorting through sheets? So I think that's the biggest thing is like, if you're more valuable somewhere else to your nonprofit, to your organization, and to your constituents and your stakeholders, then that's where you should be as an executive director, focusing your time.
Yeah, Maggie, thinking, you just mentioned it, but I mean, thinking like maybe this week, how is that database, how is that CRM going to help your work over the next 3 days, right? What are some examples of where it's going to come into play?
Yeah, I mean, it already has. I've already put people in Salesforce today. We just sent out our fall fundraiser invite that, are invite connected with Salesforce. So we pulled a list of the top donors over X amount of money, right? And we sent it out to them. So now, like to Nathan's point, we now see that, okay, it went to those hundreds of people, and then we'll compare it with the list we sent out in 2 weeks, right? So it just makes things a lot easier. I'll get the perfect example of why keeping important data is so important, and having systems that are set up. We had a big donor that gave a total of $25,000 during the pandemic, and I was in the cafe every day. I was running around like crazy, doing a lot of different things, just trying to keep this cafe afloat, just like all of the rest of us, trying to keep our nonprofits alive. And somehow this donor did not get entered in because it was not convenient for me. And so I don't even remember this happening. I don't remember it. And so I sent our fall fundraiser update out a few days ago, and this donor wrote back and said, we gave $25,000, and I know that, and I don't see us on the donor board. We would love to sponsor the fall fundraiser, but I don't see us on the donor board. I'm just curious what happened. What is that cutoff? Our donor board cutoff is $3,000. So, and that was so real to me, because whatever happened, that data didn't get entered in, and just right, because our system was so complicated and it was Excel spreadsheets and things like that. So if it can change, right? You lose relationships, you lose big contacts that are crucial year to year. So those sorts of things is what it helps me do today, tomorrow, the next day. I mean, I'm in Salesforce every day now. Yeah.
Now, was selling it to the board a hard sell, or were they on board right away and said, we got to do this? What was that process like?
Yeah, great question. They definitely pushed back for sure. But I had done my research. I had gotten quotes from
I'm shocked that a board pushed back on.
Right?
On
never. That never happened. Exactly.
What kind of board do you have, Maggie?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, they're the best. I did my research. I gave several pros and cons to different systems, and then really just broke it down to, if we were a for-profit company with $1 million budget, which would you choose? Right? So it's to your point when you said, David, like earlier, like what would you choose? And they would choose Salesforce. So I made it a point to really stress that our relationships are literally the key to everything for nonprofits and businesses, everything. And if you are not keeping up with your relationships, and again, it can't all be in my head. So if you're not keeping up with your relationships, a system has to do that. You need the best possible system.
Yeah. So Post-it notes on your phone trying to remind you to call so-and-so isn't the best system then?
I mean, you can see the notebooks that I have of to-do lists.
Well, no shame.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Exactly.
So, for Nathan and Maggie too, I guess, for nonprofits who are watching this and they're like, I really want to look at this, right? This should be something that needs to be done. We need to do this in the next 12 months, right? What are some of the steps they can take to start to move towards that? If this is the first CRM they're going to undertake, or maybe they're looking at, kind of like Maggie, of really kind of upgrading to one that's going to be more effective for them. What are some of the steps they can take to start that process to make forward momentum, right? To get moving.
I think the coolest part about the Salesforce program is like Mark Benioff, who's their CEO, has this huge, like, I don't want to call it a heart of gold, but he's kind of one of those leaders. Like he is bringing the market along with him. Like he just came out with a big carbon neutral thing where like all the partners now have to go carbon neutral and they can audit your scope 1 through 3 and some really cool stuff that I love, that is like, hey, these are our values. And if you want to be our partner, you're going to come with us. So because of that, their nonprofit, their salesforce.org, which Maggie has, like the nonprofit cloud has, through the power of us, you can get free licenses up to 10 for your nonprofit. So I'm not paying anything for mine. And granted, I'm on a much smaller scale than Maggie is, but it's nice to be able to go like, okay, for the the software, which the licensing is the most expensive part, it's an annual fee. Right. If you need less than 10 licenses, that part's a zero. And then I think it's starting to kind of do your due diligence, and I would say work your network a little bit to find who do because this is a tough part, and I don't want to, not to come off the wrong way, but if you're doing business with somebody you trust, you can, like we knew going into this kind of what Maggie's budget was. We scoped the work, we knew what it was. So like, but then it was like, okay, well, it's more than that. Like, how can we come back? So we offer some we have a pro bono budget I have a pro bono budget I get to give away every quarter. So like figuring out like, how can we make this work? Because she needs this, we're a B Corp, so we're into impact and giving back. So how can we do this in a way that's like mutually beneficial for everybody? So I think starting with the power of us and like getting those free licenses, and then, don't just stop at that first quote you get. And there's plenty of companies out there, and there's somebody in your network who can probably refer you to somebody that they trust, even if it's just getting that second set of eyes on the first statement of work that you got and the quote and the pricing. Don't just accept it. Like, remember that you can negotiate, you can do all these things, but I think kind of just getting kind of a ballpark for where you're at too, that statement of work. And, even if you go into most partners, Salesforce partners, I think they're going to be very transparent with you too, especially if you're transparent with them and saying, we're thinking about doing this. So don't hard sell me. But like, I need to know, like, what am I even looking at? Like, I have to go to the board, but like, here's what we need. Can you take me through the discovery process to figure out what it is we need to solve our operational problems? And then let's kind of get into, what is it going to cost? Can we afford it? What can I get from the board? But I think that's probably steps 1 and 2 are pretty simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Maggie, I was going to say the same thing. I think it's to work your network, talk to people who have experience with this. You don't have to know any of it, right? Go talk to the experts and then, but yeah, put it on that team and say, these are our problems, and how do you think you can help fix it? Because they do know, they've seen it before, they've done it before. And so you can trust that they will provide answers. And if they don't, that's not the right CRM for you. So I think just work your network and ask the tough questions and be honest about your experiences and what you need as a nonprofit, and let them help you.
Yeah. Because go ahead, Nathan.
I was going to say, like Maggie and I met because I heard her on a podcast 3 or 4 years ago that Christina Noel did. But like, we got introduced to Maggie as far as Victoriam Solutions because it was Andrew Katz, who's on our marketing committee. He's not even on the board. He's on the marketing committee. And he was kind of reviewing the scope because Johnny had gotten the original scope of work, Johnny Hackett. And so Andrew we've kind of just developed a friendship, and we kind of bounce business ideas and thoughts, and kind of, I'm struggling with this, and we have a biweekly call, and he's like, hey man, we got this, I'm working with this nonprofit, and they got it. Don't you guys do Salesforce? And I was like, we do. So, and then I've got a nonprofit team that I'm able to bring in that know the product and know the cloud. And then we're able to come in and go like, and basically like, let's dig a little bit deeper here. And that's how the whole thing started, was literally somebody on her marketing committee kind of also that she tasked with, like, is this the only quote we should get? Should we get some more quotes? What else should we be doing here? So it's kind of a fun, small world.
Well, and into that, right, we had already gotten quotes from other people. And so then in getting a quote from you guys and being introduced to you, it was such a gift because y'all really understood our problems. The other ones, they kind of did. And I'm sure it would have been fine, but I don't think they would have fully accomplished everything that we did together. So, we really asked you the questions and put it on you guys to help us come up with the solution. So do your research.
And that's the importance of like the due diligence and the research is like getting and going back to the ROI, going back to everything is like, you can get free Salesforce licenses. You can Google videos on, how to, load your data and you can try to manually force it. But like without a proper implementation that's customized to what you need and the integrations you need and just all the back end stuff that needs to happen, the reporting that is actionable to you or to Maggie. If you don't get that, it's just a clunk of software that you're never going to use. It's just
right. And that's,
it becomes legacy software, and it just becomes, and then the data gets dirty, and then you don't use it, and then why do we even have the free licenses? Or if you're paying for more than 10, why are we paying for these? We never use it. So I think that's the real importance too of like doing the due diligence, is getting the right partner to actually help you do it right. Like definitely don't try to save money on implementation.
There is no way I could have done what Kinsey and Grant did. There is absolutely no way. If we had just had the system and tried to figure it out, no. And our data was all wrong, just like probably everyone's data is all wrong if they don't have a good system. So no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think that, what I'm hearing is that, if you don't start with a firm foundation, the walls are probably going to come down, right? So, I think that's our experience. Angel Oak, we went with a CRM a couple of years ago, and we didn't start off well, and it didn't end well. Now we're back to spreadsheets and, figuring it all out again. But, it's frustrating if if you don't do it right the first time. It's a little disheartening to consider doing it again. So it's better to do it right the first time and, and know really what the goals are. I mean, Maggie, it sounds like you had really clear understanding of what you wanted to accomplish with it. And I think, as far as, first steps and things like that go, it sounds like that's really an important part of it, is understanding what problems you're trying to solve, right? And really identifying the weaknesses that you have, the opportunities that you have, the strengths, and those things that you have, I think, are really critical in understanding any system setup as to what's going to move you forward, into a positive space. I want to be mindful of time. We're getting close to it. Anything that I didn't ask you guys about your experience with this, or that you would want to say, if a nonprofit leader came to you and said, tell me about this, about databases and CRMs, what is the one thing that you would make sure that they hear from you today?
Well, first, David, you said that you guys are back on spreadsheets. I do know a human who can get you connected to Salesforce.
I know. Trust me, he's been part of some discussions. So trust me, that's happening. So.
Oh, love it. No, I mean, I think the thing that I would say is do it. Like, just do it. I'm going to go back to time is money. Your time is critical, and it can be spent doing the 100 other things you need to do, the most important things you need to do. And you need your time back. And we, as organizations, as businesses, they are businesses, as Nathan said, we need systems that will make us more successful and sustainable for years to come. And I think the other thing is if you want your organization, even if you're not the founder, you're the leader, right? If you want your organization to be successful after you are gone, if you believe in your mission, what you're doing, then you've got to set up systems for the next human that will come in and take it over.
Yeah.
Nathan, I would say, I mean, you're never gonna, and the beauty of working in the nonprofit world and working with nonprofits, we're like forgetting which hat I'm wearing right now, my own, or so. But I think the beauty of it is like in the for-profit, you talk about scaling your business, and it creates great jobs and it creates economic impact and everything like that. But when you're in the nonprofit world, like you're creating like tangible impact on people's lives, which is something special, and especially like a place at the table on their mission and like working with them. And so I make the argument of like scale the impact. Like you're not going to scale your impact without you have to invest sometimes, like in this investment in yourself to make yourself more efficient, to make yourself, how do you scale if it's just Maggie, the Maggie show, and she's got Post-its here and phone notes here. And, and I'm one of those people sometimes where I just have paper notes all over the place from like when I'm on phone calls, but then I put them in somewhere. I have them, their follow-ups, their to-do list.
Yeah.
But you're not going to scale your impact without some sort of process, without some sort of organizational system. And as you get bigger and you have different systems and you have a POS and you have a PayPal and you have all these different places of like, how do you track that data? What if you lose that $25,000 a year donor? Like, was that worth saving X number of dollars on an implementation of Salesforce?
Right.
Like, was it? Probably not.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you all so much. Maggie, if someone wants to find out more about Place at the Table, where can they go? And I just know from personal experience that you have awesome avocado toast. So I don't know
awesome everything.
So I really recommend it. But tell people about how they can learn more and support you guys.
Yep. You can come visit us, or you can come visit us, obviously. You can see our website at tableraleigh.org or social media at Table Raleigh.
And what's your address downtown?
It's 300 West Hargett Street.
I need to write that down because I'm coming to Raleigh in August, so I need to I'm coming to eat some Place at the Table. I'm excited.
There you go. And Nathan, how can they learn more about AdVictoriam?
So we are online at it used to be advictoriamsolutions.com, and then we decided that's too hard to spell and everybody likes to put a U in it. So it is now advic.com, advic.com. So AdVic, and then LinkedIn is probably our social media of choice. And then I guess I'll do the shameless plug for Be Local Georgia as well. But yeah, AdVic, if you
Do
need,
it.
if you have any, and honestly, I would say this, if you have any questions or need a second set of eyeballs, I've got a bunch of people who know Nonprofit Cloud really well and, you know, are on my B Corp steering committee that just have hearts of gold who want to do the right thing. So even if you just want us to vet what you got, we're happy to do that as well.
So anybody who needs a free implementation, they should call you. Is that what you're saying? No, just kidding.
Let's
Just
not go
kidding.
too far. I don't have that much pro bono budget to give away.
I'm just kidding. No, thank you both so much. You know, databases, CRMs, they're not the most exciting topic in the world, but they can be powerful. And you guys have shown that this is something that's worth investing in, at least investing the time to learn more, right? Just to start, if nothing else, and then investing in some system that's going to improve the way you operate, the way you engage with your donors, the way that you manage your nonprofit. All of those things are going to improve. You become more efficient, you become more effective, and that will make you nonprofit tough. So thank you guys so much for your time, for your information, and look forward to staying in touch with both of you. Let us know how you're doing soon. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Maggie.
Thanks, Nathan. Great to see you.
You as
I
well.
can't